really invest some time in your side characters.
Mm.
Your side characters, they might not be on the page as much as your main characters, but you should know them well enough that they could be a main character. And if that means doing a character interview where you get to know them better, in journals, I always do this. I might have an entire backstory about them that never makes it to the page, but I know them on a deeper level.
We'll talk about this and much more today. Welcome to a Writer's Day podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to a Writer's Day podcast. I know you have so many writing podcasts to choose from, so I'm honored that you're taking some time out of your day to listen to my podcast. And today we have another amazing best-selling author to listen to. And if you like today's episode, please consider supporting me over at Spotify and iHeartRadio, and subscribe over at YouTube and leave me a comment. I'd love to know what you think of today's episode. And as always, head over to artbyruth.com to sign up for my newsletter so you can be aware of what's coming next down the road, like my A Shadow of Hope suspense novel releasing April 14th. And I'm also working on book 3 in my Desert Shadows suspense series. Of course, I've already started sketching for my next dragon coloring book. So head over to artbyruth.com today, sign up for my newsletter so you'll be first to know of what the cover looks like for my next books and when that coloring book releases. Okay, on to the good stuff. T.I. Lowe is with me today again. I love talking to her. She's just an ordinary country girl who loves to tell extraordinary stories, and you know how fantastic she is. She is an author of over 21 novels. That's right. And so she's here today to talk about her new book, so you know the drill. Grab your favorite beverage, a comfortable chair, kick back and relax as we listen to T.I. Lowe talk about her new book. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm so excited to have T.I. Lowe with me here again. I think this must be our third interview. Welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me back. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Of course, yeah. And my husband always teases me because when I finish talking to you, I tend to have a southern drawl the rest of the evening.
I rub off on you. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Funny enough, my family, we listened to the Bible in a year last year.
Mm-hmm.
And this year we're redoing it, but I changed the narrator. And this one has a British accent. And then, so after I listen to it in the morning, in my thoughts, I'm British for probably half the day.
We have one of those too. I think his name is Max McLean, and he's American, but he reads the Bible with an English accent. And I'm like
No
that too.
way.
There's certain verses that he
Uh-huh.
says,
Yeah, like one word he was said yesterday was morning, but he'd go morning. And so,
uh,
I walk around in my head like I'm in deep mourning. I'm a weirdo. I'm sorry.
no, you're fine. That's funny. Well, since it's been a while, why don't you catch us up as to what you've been up to so far in 2026?
Oh, wow. It seems like we've been in 2026 for more than a few months. It's been a long year already.
I
Um,
know.
I am currently writing my 22nd novel. We're doing the revisions on that now, and we're looking at it being entitled A Southern Goodbye. So that's been a lot of our focus. We've had a lot going on with our family. But yeah, now I'm kicking off the book tour and all the good
Ooh.
stuff for my 21st novel, South of Somewhere.
Oh, wonderful. That sounds like fun. Do you go to different bookstores?
I do. Last Friday I was at uh, this bookstore at the beaches, Litchfield Bookstores, and they do author luncheons. So I got to do a book luncheon there, and then Saturday I was at a Mardell bookstore in Columbia, South Carolina, and then I'll be places in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia in the next few months. So kind of I keep it close to home, but I'll go out a little bit. But yeah, I love going. and just chatting up with the readers. This book in particular, so I spoke to about 100 women on Friday, and then during the luncheon, they would come up and I would sign their books. And so many had stories to share with me. And I think that's truly my favorite part about book tours is I get to hear others' stories and how my fictional stories inspired them to share their real stories. So yeah, that's very much special to me.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I think it's important for readers to know how much of an impact they have on you as the author,
Oh yeah,
that
for sure.
we get so much from them reading our books, but then coming up to us and telling us about the experience,
Hmm.
it just makes it all worth it because writing a book is hard work. And when you get rewards like
It
that,
is.
what a blessing that is.
It is, and I know you're a writer, so I'm sure you have this whole you understand the imposter syndrome. Like you can be in the
Mm.
middle of writing a book and you're like, I can't do this. I'm not qualified to do this. Oh my gosh, they're going to hate this book. And then once you finally get to the end of it and you are able to share it, and so many they let you know how it's special or how the story impacted them. It's such a gift, really.
It is. That's a blessing of the Lord. Wow. That is amazing. And so, listeners out there, do that for your authors that you love. Make sure you let them know that the impact that they've had on your life and the story that they wrote, how it truly touched you. You have no idea how you really are helping an author who may be at the end of their rope. They might be saying, you know what, this is it. I give up. Nobody's reading my books. And then when you reach out to them, whether it's a review or an email, you could really be encouraging them to keep going. So yeah, that is such a blessing.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny, like the email from a reader will show up when I'm at a low point. So I mean,
Mm.
it's amazing that those letters of encouragement show up just at the right time. So never hesitate if there's an author that story that's really touched you. They may not be able to respond because they may be too much on their plate. But I'm sure your encouragement means so much more to them than you'll ever know.
Well, let's talk about South of Somewhere, your latest novel. Tell us about this story.
Yes, well, the title it sort of lets the readers in on it. Junie Wilder is our leading lady in this story. She's a young lady, and she is south of where she wants to be. And so, through the journey of this book, she's going to really find her place and figure out where her somewhere is. She's made a lot of mistakes. The book will open. She's leaving rehab, and she has lost custody of her daughter and is on probation. And then she's going to have the summer to prove to herself as well as her brother that she's worthy of a second chance. And I've written probably three second chance romances, and I love that idea of love finding someone again. But this time I really wanted to give this woman a second chance, and I think it's going to speak to a lot of people because how many times have we feel like, well, we're not worthy of a second chance or a third chance, but the state motto for South Carolina is "While I breathe, I hope."
Mm, mm.
And that theme runs throughout this entire book. As long as we still have breath in our body, there's still hope for us to make a change. And so I just hope that that'll encourage people to do so.
Oh, that's remarkable. Now, how did you come up with these characters, though? What inspired you to write about her and dealing with this kind of an arrest? It could have been shoplifting or, but you have her arrested for
Yeah.
drunk driving. Wow, where did you get that inspiration?
Well, sadly enough, there was a study done in 2023, and it shows that one in four children has a parent, at least one parent at home battling substance abuse. And it shows you the major impact this is on families throughout our country. And if you've known me for just a little bit, you know that I want to address topics that are relevant to our time. It's not easy to write about these topics, but I feel like sometimes if you pick up a book of fiction, that reading it through the lens of fiction is easier to understand and really have empathy for someone going through, something like substance abuse, more so than the reality of life. And um, I probably shared this quote with you last time, but it really is it means a lot to me, and it's where I stand in my writing. It's a writer does not write to be understood. A writer writes to understand.
Mm.
And so I have family members that's dealt with substance abuse, and I am the brother in this story. I don't understand why they couldn't get their life clean and they couldn't make a change and do it for the sake of their family. And so this is me through this work of fiction, laying down all my prejudices and all my judgmentalness over someone in this situation and truly understanding what they have to go through.
Mm. So it must have been very therapeutic for you to write this story.
It was. We lost someone to a drug overdose, and through this, it it was 3 years ago. So this is part of my grieving process. I don't know if it's just because I'm a creative and this is how I did it. I'm sure there's people who are artists that paint, and they could paint their grief into a painting, or someone that's a songwriter. Us as writers, we could do that through our writing. So it may have healed some parts, but I know deep down there's parts of me that will never heal. There's always the what ifs, and um, but it helped me explore that a little bit more in this story. And and
Mm.
the wonderful gift that a writer has is almost like we can create magic in the pages of our books. Is I can give Junie a happily ever after in her life.
Mm.
I can give her that hope and give her a better journey and path of life that I'm not able to give people in my life, in my real life. And so, to me, that's always a little bit of magic that us authors get to sprinkle into our books.
Hmm. It's kind of a way for us to heal as well. Hmm.
Yes.
I
Hmm.
did that too after my mom died a couple of years, about 4 years later. I wrote a book, a fiction book, and the girl is 13 years old and she lost her mom in the story. And it's about her
Oh.
struggling with, her dad remarries a little too quick for her. And he uproots her,
Mm.
moves her to a rural community from the big city. So she's having a lot to deal with in addition to her mother's loss. And even though she's 13, I was like 40. I was like 49 when my mom died, but it was helpful for me. I was able to really express my grief through her and through that story. So I kind of get what you're
Hmm.
saying. It's so good for artists for anybody to tap into the fine arts to help them heal, like you said, whether it's
Hmm.
painting or music or writing. I work with Grief Share, and so I'm a grief group facilitator, and that's one of the things I always
Hmm.
stress is that try the fine arts to help you express how you're feeling, because it does help to get it out there. And with your
Yeah.
story, imagine how many people you're going to help who might be on that same page where they are struggling with forgiveness and letting go of the anger and resentment toward a person who died in a way that maybe they just didn't understand, right?
Yes. And when I shared that statistic with you, the 1 in 4. So I was in this group of women, about 100 women, last Friday, and I want to say at least 10% of the attendees came up to me and shared their stories that was so similar of, they had someone battling addiction or they lost someone to a drug overdose. And there were, so many tears and hugs, and it was
Mm,
just, it was a book talk and it was a luncheon, but it was so therapeutic. And it's
yeah.
amazing. And I've talked to them about it Friday, even this book, what it could do in a book club, and even your book about, losing a mother in a book club setting, it can open up the conversation. And that in itself could be like a therapy session without having to go to an actual therapist, really.
Exactly. It gets the conversation going, right?
Yes.
And
Hmm.
your story though also has some romance and some quirkiness. How did you find what was challenging about finding that balance for you to talk about such a heavy topic, but then also have a little bit of romance and maybe some fun times too?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but when you write you're probably the same way as me. We write these heavy topics, but you have to. I don't want to. You got to do it and you know, s- break it up some. Like even in real life, I can't take
Hmm.
but so much heavy and so much grief. I remember when I was losing my mom, the last week of her life, she battled cancer and
Mm.
um, she slipped into a coma. And my sister and brother, we were by her bedside throughout that whole week, and we ended up, up and down all night long and taking care of her. But we were making cracking jokes, and some people might think it was a silly, not the right time to do it, but that was how we survived that moment, that
Mhm.
week with her. And I do that in my writing too. It's a heavy topic, but I try to like you said, find that balance of a little bit of romance just to lighten up the mood. There's some quirky characters and quirky situations, because there's heavy writing days and I need a laugh too. And then, even with the little bit of the sweet romance on the side, you got to look for those little pockets of joy. And I try to do that with a book too.
Mm, that's important. Yeah, readers need a break too from the heavy
Yes, they
drama. They
do.
need a little bit of a break too. So tell us about
Hmm.
Henry, her neighbor. Yeah, who's Henry, her quirky college professor neighbor? Tell us about
Yes,
him.
he's the nerdy, absent-minded professor next door, and he was such a blast to write because he was so forgetful, absent-minded. He would forget what he was doing, and he would lose his glasses. But he was so sweet to her. What is that? How the different tropes with romance, was it called the
Oh,
golden receiver, or is it the golden receiver? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna mess this
I
up.
forget.
See, I should be saying something I don't know exactly. But he's just a teddy bear and he's just a sweetheart, and um he goes with the flow of things. There's like, my other book, Indigo Isle, I wrote a grumpy hero, and that was a blast too, because he'd pop off at the mouth. But with Henry, you never know. He just comes up with these sweet things, and so I wanted to give Junie this really sweet friendship and the possibility of it blooming to something else. But Henry, he's got his secrets too, and
Mm.
they'll be revealed throughout the book. But so readers need to keep a close watch on Henry. He's got something else going on in there.
And that's important as writers to make sure that all of the characters do have something, because that's real life, right? You may be talking to a
Yeah.
really neat college professor who seems like she
Hmm.
or he may have it all together, but then you find out later on, no, they were struggling with something too. So that's real life, and that's an
Hmm.
important thing for us writers to remember. You're not just focusing on your main character's troubles and past, but everybody they encounter needs to have something that they're dealing with too. So, yeah.
Yes, and if we give any advice to readers or writers listening, it uh, really invest some time in your side characters.
Mm.
Your side characters, they might not be on the page as much as your main characters, but you should know them well enough that they could be a main character. So, and if that means doing a character interview where you get to know them better, even writing in journals, I always do this. I might have an entire backstory about them that never makes it to the page, but I know them on a deeper level before put placing them in the storyline. So I really think that's important. You don't ever want to give readers a really flat side character. Make them interesting too. And that's where you can really have some fun, if you ask me, is with the side characters. They can do things that your main characters probably wouldn't do.
Mm. That's
So
true.
have
I
fun with
love
them.
that. That's a good
Yeah.
reminder. Yeah, because you can have sidekicks who are funny and just offer those
Yeah.
jokes, those times of levity that you need. And then you could have a foil, like Mr. Spock to Captain Kirk. Everybody loves Mr. Spock,
Hmm.
even though he's this character who provides that chance for the author to reveal some things about your Captain Kirk. So you may have this really great guy, but
Yeah.
you have this foil who comes along who bothers them, nitpicks, reminds them of their flaws. And they may not like that so
Yeah.
much, but in the end, it makes them a better person. So, yeah, you're right. Those side characters are so important. So, I love that. That's a great
Hmm.
reminder. And I think the trope you were talking about was Golden Retriever, the unwavering,
Yeah. I
loyal,
don't know. Yeah.
pure-hearted. Yeah, that's what it was.
That's it. Hmm.
The Golden
Very
Retriever.
pure-hearted.
Oh,
Yeah. Very
yeah.
loyal. That's Henry for sure.
That's great.
He was a
And sometimes,
sweetheart. I had fun with him.
oh, it sounds like it. And it's so important when you do have this heavy topic to have that person who can provide a little bit of a break for your readers. Yeah. Well done.
Hmm.
Well, folks, South of Somewhere is available right now. So head over to Amazon and get your copy. I know I'm going to get my copy. And so, what's coming next for you in 2026?
So 2026, I'm going to be wrapping up this next book, and it should release fall of 2027 is what we're looking at now, and it's an aftermath story. And you and I have already talked about grief. Well, here we go again. This one is there's three main characters. I'm going to do three POVs, three point of views on this one, and it's their grief journey after losing the same person. They're all connected to this one person and how her death impacts their lives.
Mm,
And, you could probably, I should probably interview you while I'm doing this one, but the whole process looks different from every person, and there's
mm,
no wrong way of grieving. And so I really want to highlight that in this
mm,
story. And we're looking at the title of being a Southern goodbye. If you know what a Southern goodbye is, it's where people will say, okay, it's time to go. And then an hour later, you're still talking. So you don't want to say goodbye. That's what a Southern goodbye is. You do not want to say goodbye. And it really um, suits in the story that I want to tell with these three people.
Oh, that's beautiful because they didn't really want to say goodbye to this person, right? Oh, I love
Yes.
that.
Mhm.
And you're
Well,
right. I
thank
mean, we
you.
all grieve differently.
Hmm.
I grieved my mom's death so differently than my brother's. So gender matters. And then, of course,
Yeah.
it's the kind of the kind of death that the person suffered too really matters too. So yeah, that's important.
Hmm.
What a brilliant idea, though. That is something that I think readers will really um, relate to, the different
I think
kinds of
so too.
grief.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that sounds amazing. So do you always just do standalones or do you do series at all?
I've done a few series in the phase of my writing right now that I'm doing a good many standalones. I have three under contract that will be standalones, but I'm never not going to say no to doing more series. So we'll see.
Okay. Yeah. That's great. I'm thinking of doing more standalones too, so I was just wondering.
Are
Well,
you?
that's
Hmm.
wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, I like series. I do, but I've done
I
about
do
four or
too.
five in a row. Now I'm thinking, nah, I might just start doing standalones for a while and get
You
that.
sound like me. Sometimes it's good to change it up, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love characters. I do, and I love it when readers say, "Oh,
Hmm.
I just love this. Are you going to do more with these two characters?" And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
"Oh, I didn't plan on it, but since you said that, I guess
I get that
so,
all the time for Lulu's Cafe. And they said, when are you going to write another part to go to Lulu's Cafe? I said, those characters have never said anything else to me. I said,
Yeah.
now, if they come up and they say, look, Tanya, we've got to sit down and have another talk. Here's another story. I'm never going to say no to it, but I don't know about you, but I don't like to force a
Mm,
story. If it's not
yeah,
on my heart to write it, I don't want to write it.
I hear you. I'm like that too. This next book I'm
Hmm.
releasing, I feel that way. I don't see it as being a series. They have their happy ever after, and I'm satisfied, and I
Hmm.
think they're satisfied. So let's let them be
Yeah.
and enjoy life.
Hmm.
Because readers just don't understand that we have to go and we have to beat them up. We have to really make their life horrible,
Yes.
and let's just let them have a nice life, you know?
Hmm.
So
That's so true.
readers probably think we're crazy talking about them like they're real people, but they are to us. So
But they are to us, right? And we are a little crazy, but it's okay.
that's true. Well, listeners, be sure and get your copy of South of Somewhere and leave a review because reviews really help us authors. So when you read Tanya's
They
book,
do.
be
Thank you.
sure and leave her a review. Let her know how it touched your heart. That will really encourage her. And this has been a delight. Thank you for joining me again, Tanya. I really appreciate it. Our
Thank you for
next
inviting me. Yeah.
That was so fun to talk with author Tanya Lowe, T.I. Lowe, as you know her, about her next book, South of Somewhere. And she does such a brilliant job of really taking those heavy topics like grief and complicated grief and blending it with romance and some laughter because that's how life is, right? So go and pick up your copy of South of Somewhere on Amazon today and leave her a review. Reviews really help us. I hope that you've been encouraged by listening to Tanya talk about how to create that balance between heavy topics and romance and how to use those side characters. Be sure and have side characters in your stories too and make them fascinating. Make them really challenge your main character on her journey to happily ever after. And like I said, maybe you can have a Mr. Spock in there to really challenge your Captain Kirk. That's the fun thing about creating these side characters. You are in control of their destiny. So, most of all, keep going on your writing journey. Overcoming those obstacles. Like right now, I'm suffering some writer's block, so I got to deal with that. But you may have to overcome some obstacles like that too. So, but keep going. Because, like I always say, someone out there needs to read your story. And until next time, thanks for listening. God bless.